What to make of Kyle Kuzma's resurgence, Myles Turner struggles, and an upside-down Eastern Conference. We get into that conversation next on today's Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day. You can hear me on the Bucks Radio Network. You can find Camille on our Locked On NBA coverage, hosting the Locked On NBA Show weekly and the Technical Foul podcast as well. We recapped their best win so far this season against the New York Knicks on yesterday's show, and had a lot of meat left on the bone and some things we couldn't get to, and said we'll carry those over into tomorrow's show. And one of them, Camille, I don't know that certainly many of us, I don't know if there were any of us that thought we'd already be having this conversation 4 games into the season, but let's just do it. Kyle Kuzma.
Yes,
good. I don't think there's any other way to put it. Good against the New York Knicks. We said there was a 3-pointer attempt that he maybe could have done without. Everything else, good. I think at worst, the way that I would sum him up so far this season, and again, it's 4 games, but at worst, I'd say he's been fine.
Mm-hmm.
And at best, I'd say, yeah, he's been overall good for this team. There was obviously not a whole lot of belief in Kyle Kuzma. And to be fair, there's still 78 games remaining where it could go south and the wheels could start to come off here. But, you know, we heard a lot from Doc Rivers and John Horst and others in the offseason about kind of tiptoeing around his role and his usage. And I know there was a lot of fear of, is Kyle Kuzma going to start? And even hearing outsiders talk about, well, starting Kyle Kuzma and the role that he's going to have and minutes he'll play on this team, when we kind of said the answer was staring you in the face all along. If you listen to Doc Rivers, they want him to be, I heard Eric Name put it as like the zero sugar version of Giannis. Like he would be the, I know we have some sponsorship deals, so I don't want to step on toes here, but the like the Olipop version of here's a Dr. Pepper, but it's not actually Dr. Pepper. Like that's Kyle Kuzma versus Giannis here. But he's really excelled in this role so far. And I think the big thing is this, and I'm curious your thoughts. I think it really boils down to putting him in a position to succeed this season. And the way that they have done that is with the roster that's around him. Like last year, it was basically, we need you to do these things. Like we need you to be the Giannis when he's not on the floor, push the tempo, be a guy that's getting in transition, play defense for us, take on these types of individual assignments, take open shots when you have them. The problem with it was it's a group that's not going to play up tempo and not going to push the pace and play in transition a whole lot, save for Giannis. And defensively, we saw it because I know that was the biggest thing that surprised us last year, but he didn't have a whole lot of help next to him, where you were basically saying, all right, we need you to do these things, but you're going to be the only one doing them. So I don't care how you do it. Just go do it. Good luck. And this year the pieces fit and it makes sense of like, yeah, you got guys that can play off of you on both ends, like Kyle Kuzma and Cole Anthony on the floor together. Those are guys that are going to get up and down the floor, that it just feels like comfort being with the team longer, having an off season, work with the group, but also like both parties recognizing, and Kyle Kuzma, to be clear, accepting this role and leaning into it, but the Bucks also putting him in a spot to succeed with how they've used him and the pieces they put around him.
Absolutely that. Like I got a couple of jokes and laughs, and someone tweeted at me this year and it just said light with the eye emoji. And I was like, what you talking about? And it was like, Kyle Kuzma, like Giannis, what you be saying? Like a light version of Giannis. And I think that's been the thing with Kyle Kuzma. When you think about last season, part of my initial skepticism around adding Kuz to the team was thinking that you're just going to try to put Kyle Kuzma into a Chris Middleton role, or you're putting him in a role where it's like, okay, now you're sharing the court with Giannis and Brook consistently. We're going to need you to space the floor and be a knockdown 3-point shooter and do all these things. And I'm like, there's not much proof of concept with that, with Kyle Kuzma, with the way that the shooting numbers look. And I was like, that just doesn't seem like it will be the best utilization of him. And then as he gets to Milwaukee, there were certain things in his game that started to stand out. The defense was one where it's like, okay, he actually has a little bit more juice on that side of the ball than I initially thought. The playmaking flashed a bit from Kyle Kuzma. So it's okay. There are some things in this game where it feels like this could be very useful. But what's the best way to utilize him? And the question I kept having is like shot profile, shot selection. What are the best spots to put Kyle Kuzma in on the floor?
Threes above the break.
Exactly. Right. Like we don't want that, but like what's the best way to utilize him? And it feels like the Bucks and as you mentioned, Kyle Kuzma are buying into what they want that profile to look like, what they want that role to be. And it fits the team so much better. Now, if someone's out there arguing like the usage of Kyle Kuzma, is it worth the contract that you're paying a Kyle Kuzma? Like, does the contract fit the role where you would think the role's a bit bigger? I hear you on that, but we're beyond that at this point. It's just about having the right fit on the court. And I think that they found the right split with him of kind of leading those bench units, being the Giannis light, so to speak, in the lineups with him. And the improvements that he's made to his game in the offseason, hearing what him and his trainer were really focused on working on decision-making, working on the short rolls, working on the passing, working on the finishing around the rim, which he can get to the rim, but last year he wasn't finishing it at a high enough clip. And he talked about like, hey, got to use my actual body, like can't shy away from contact at the rim, go through it. And we saw it against the Knicks. He had 6 free throws in that game, even though, it ended with 2 shot attempts, but 6 free throws for Kyle Kuzma in that game. So like there are areas in this game where you can see like, hey, it's flashing. Like his playmaking in the short roll so far this season has flashed for me where I'm like, I remember playmaking last year, but I don't remember the playmaking out of this situation as much last year as I'm seeing it so far. And again, small sample size, it's early on, but he's doing a really good job of moving the ball, playing defense, and utilizing his size and his strength. I mentioned on yesterday's show where it's like, you look at Kuz and might not think he's a strong dude, but like he can defend fours on other teams. Like, and the Bucks are utilizing him in that way where he's more of a 4 this year than the 3, although you have lineups at times this season so far where he is sharing the court with Giannis and Bobby or Giannis and Myles or something of that sort where it is a bigger lineup, but not as much as last year. And I think him being that off the bench big kind of fits better for him on this team.
Yeah, I think the whole pattern, like, again, we can't stress this enough. It's been a good start. We have to see it sustained here for Kyle Kuzma. I shouldn't say I have no reason, but I do have faith that we're going to see maybe not, Kyle Kuzma against the Knicks level play sustained, but I do have faith based on everything that, we said of how they've surrounded him and what Kuz leaned into here, that we are going to see a majority of this continue to carry over. There's certainly going to be some inefficient offensive games. For me, the big thing is I think that's fine. I think we're all willing to accept every once in a while let's try to think about the number here, Camille. Every once in a while to get like the 2 for 9 game from Kuzma, as long as he's making, again, not to the level that he displayed against Towns, but defensive impact. And he's bringing that to you on the other end of the floor. But it's, so far, it's been everything you would have envisioned. And as we said on yesterday's show, the contract is a different conversation, whether or not, this version of Kyle Kuzma, essentially a role player, whether or not that's worth $20 billion. I think we could all agree, no, it's not, but this is what you inherited. So let's, the sunk cost mentality, let's make the best of it here. And so far they've done that with Kyle Kuzma. So I just think there's a good chance this holds, right? Like basically the stats that we saw against the Knicks, where wasn't anything that's going to blow you away offensively. I mean, he finished that game with what, 4 points? Was it?
I think so. Yeah.
5 points, all free throws too. So if Kyle Kuzma finishes this season averaging 5 points, 5 rebounds, and like 2 assists, fine. I know $20 million makes that a little tougher pill to swallow, but you know what? Considering where expectations were and considering and comparing it to what you got a season ago, I'm fine with that, especially if he continues to be more than a serviceable defender.
Yeah, true. I'm with you on that one as well. And it's a year two so far. He's playing less minutes right now for the
Yeah.
Bucks. I'm double checking my math, but I'm pretty sure it's of his career right now. If this holds, this will be the lowest minutes per game average of Kyle Kuzma's career. He's currently around 20.3. And yeah, that would hold. That would be the lowest of his career if it does go that way. And again, you can argue about the contract, whatever. At this point, he's guaranteed. He's going to get what he's going to get, and every dollar is earned. I never fault players for getting they bag, get the bag, Kuz. That's why it's a big shout out to him actually for even accepting the role of what's being asked of him, because he's taking a back seat from being in Washington, where you're the number one guy. You have an open shot die to do whatever you want here, and now you're being put into this role where, as we mentioned, it's like a super role player. How can you star in this role? The only area for Kyle Kuzma that I would be like, hey, this is something I want to see a little bit more of going forward too. It's just the rebounding. If he can be a little bit harder on the glass there. But outside of that, early returns, I don't have too many complaints of what we've been seeing from Kuz.
Yeah, 8 points that he's averaging, which again, I'm fine with it. It would be the first time in his career he didn't average double figures in a season. You mentioned the minutes and how much those dropped off. I mean, he went from 12 field goal attempts a game with the Bucks last year to just under 6 so far through 4 games. So he has embraced being a role player and sacrificing for others so far. And we're seeing the results from Kyle Kuzma in 3 games that he's played so far, as he missed the Cavs game. But so far so good for Kyle Kuzma. Offensively, not the same story yet for Myles Turner, but there's a couple interesting numbers to point out as it pertains to that. So we'll get into that conversation and a very interesting Eastern Conference here through the first week plus of the regular season. We'll do so after this. Well, Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ, their most advanced equipment yet. It's designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. So whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, you can get it through Peloton IQ on the Cross Training Tread Plus. This is training reimagined. Peloton's built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach your peak performance. The IQ system offers real-time strength coaching where it actually tracks your reps. It'll suggest the right weights and correct your form, making every rep safer and smarter. Comes with a swivel screen where you can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged, where you get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each day, each week for that matter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, Myles Turner, Camille, has not found the offensive stroke yet for this Bucks team. He is currently shooting in the 20%. I just had the tab open and it closed on me. He is currently shooting 23% on 3-point attempts this season. And this is a year removed from shooting 40% last season. The year prior to that, he was 36 and 37 prior to that. We talked about the 3-point volume too, and speculating of where that would be for him, and saying, well, he averaged 5.5 attempts last year. Maybe he gets 7 in this system when we've heard the Bucks want to get an increased amount of 3-point attempts. It's been identical. 5.5 3-point attempts through 4 games. And he's made 1 fewer 3. So he hasn't seen the ball go through the net. And, you go back to what Ryan Rollins said about his performance, where he went 4 of 4 on threes and was asked, hey, what was the difference in this game versus the previous games? And said nothing. The ball just went through the net. Like it's many times as simple as that. Here's what I'll point out. Myles Turner in his career gets off to slow starts in terms of his shooting efficiency. His October averages have traditionally been the worst in terms of his efficiency numbers from all areas of the floor. Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage. It's a career 31% 3-point shooter in the month of October in those games played. Gets better as the season goes on. That number, though, of 23% is nearly identical to someone else that we saw last season. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Is it Gary Trent?
Gary Trent Jr., who I believe is first. He missed a couple early games, but I believe it was his first 9 games. Shot 24% from 3 for the Bucks, where everybody was like, I thought this was going to be the next Malik Beasley. Like, this guy was just going to start knocking down threes. And as we saw, to go from the starts that Gary Trent Jr. had last season, where I think he finished the month of October, well, beyond October. I think once the Bucks started to win games, he wrapped up the month of November at around 30%, 31%, something like that. And yet he finished the season shooting 35. No, not 35%.
It's higher than that.
Yeah, at 41% on threes. So I'm not worried about it with Myles Turner. It's been a little deflating at times, especially because the looks have been open and we're like, okay, here's the one where it finally drops. But again, it felt like exact same thing with Gary Trent Jr. last year. The looks were there. They were good looks. They just didn't drop. And in the case of Myles Turner, we've talked about it on previous shows. It's everything else. It's the defense that he's recorded multiple blocks in each of these games. I was talking about it with somebody else after the game last night. I think a little bit of a bone to pick with the official scoring team at Fiserv Forum, because it feels like Myles Turner's been shorted on at least 3 blocks so far this season. But nonetheless, he's made his impact there. His rebounding's been better than I imagined so far. And just what he's brought in terms of movement and helping push the pace offensively has been, part of the bigger picture and just the eye test of this team and what looks different in the pace that they're playing at. Like, Myles Turner's been a big piece of that. Yeah. So the shot is eventually going to start to fall, but the fact that he's doing the rest of it in the time being, I think, is the important part.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think if any bone I have to pick with Myles Turner offensively is that he's passing up threes too.
Yeah.
He's passing some up. Like, there's been at least, I think maybe I would say 2 a game I can think about.
He's had a lot of open looks that you just take it. Just shoot it. Instead, he's looking to move the ball and keep things going. Yeah.
And I get it. And he even mentioned himself, I think in the very first game, where he was like, I'm not used to being told to shoot this much. Like, I naturally, I'm looking to move the ball. I'm not used to this. And we've heard guys, once they join the Bucks and they play with Giannis, the first few games of getting used to what that attention from Giannis looks like and how it opens up shots for other guys. Sometimes they can't believe the looks that they're getting and might question it. Like, there were a few, like I mentioned with Myles, where it's like, just shoot it. I don't care if you miss it, just shoot it. And that's the thing with this team that I'll say now, and I probably will say multiple times throughout the season. When you are a team that is looking to put up a lot of threes, sometimes guys go through slumps. Sometimes it's not going to be your game, whatever the case may be. You still got to shoot. Like, shooters shoot. And Myles Turner, I know, is better than what he's currently shooting. 26% from 3 that you mentioned here, 23% from 3 right now. Like, I know he's better than that. So, like, shoot it, because it will drop eventually. So for Myles, the shooting part, that's why I said yesterday, like, I'm not super concerned about Myles Turner. I know the shots will fall eventually. As long as they're good looks, keep shooting them, because everything else that he's bringing to the table, even on offense, just the communication, the ball movement, some like these like subtle screens that he's doing, like off ball, where a guy gets a cross court pass and he's like a little brush screen real quick just to make sure that the help can't get there in time. And not to mention what he's doing defensively for this team so far. So like the early returns on Myles Turner, if you're just checking box scores, I can get being like, well, was it really worth it? But yes, because even defensively, he unlocks so much, it feels like, for this team, just being able to do those switches, play at the level on screens. And it's been a nice fit. I have no concerns about the shooting at this point. I know that's going to come. All I got to say to Myles is keep shooting, and honestly, shoot even more. Shoot more. If you open, let it fly.
We've had 4 games and 4 different second leading scorers so far for this team. I think we're getting 5. today, when you listen to this against the Warriors. And I think it's going to be Myles Turner. The thing about this Warriors matchup and where I think the Bucks have the Warriors are playing great right
Yeah, they
now.
are.
Like if you're looking at teams across the league that you're saying, it doesn't really feel like we've got that team that's like coming out and throwing their fastball right now. One of the exceptions would be the Warriors and how they're, and maybe the Bulls for what they continue to do as well. So the Warriors are playing excellent so far tonight, but there is a couple areas that, the last handful of years in the Steph Curry era has been a weak spot for the Warriors, and the Bucks have suddenly leaned into that quite a bit. So we'll get a little bit into the matchup, just some more here coming up after the break. And also we mentioned the craziness across the league. We had some injury situations we're monitoring. We had a couple of teams that I know one of us was very high on. I don't know if you were, but some teams facing some big time struggles and a potential Spider-Man meme situation for the Bucks and another Eastern Conference team. So we'll take a look at the rest of the league coming up after this. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Rippling allows you to remove the bottlenecks in your business and busy work that slows you and your teams down. They handle everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access and run automatically, perfectly in sync. It is simple to use, gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnba. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnba. That's rippling.com/lockedonnba for 6 months free. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends Advanced tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Now expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All right. So, we saw where should we start here with the injuries from last night that we're still waiting to get the word on. Trae Young goes down with a knee sprain. I think it was.
I think it's the official name. Yeah, his teammate fell into him awkwardly. So I know Trae Young said he wanted to come back into the game after that, but they were like, it's no need. There's going to be an MRI today as people are listening to see what the damage was to Trae.
So Trae Young goes down. The Hawks lose again.
Yeah.
Atlanta is now 1-4 or 1-3. Either way, not where they expected to
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay. The Orlando Magic suffered defeat once again as well. That's a team that I know I was very high on and thought with the defense, their offense was the issue the year prior, the years prior, not just the year prior. So you add in a guy like Desmond Bane, that should really prop the Magic up to where we expect them to be. They're 1-4 to start the season. The Raptors are 1-4 for all the talk we heard about. First off, Giannis, a possible destination for Giannis, and the Raptors are better than the Bucks. I know it's early, so famous last words here, but not where they expected to be. When we look at the Eastern Conference standings, Camille, there are 2 teams right now atop the East, unbeaten. We have 4 unbeaten teams in the league right now. There is no way you would have guessed 2 of them before the season started. Like, you could make a soft case for 3, but I mean, just the belief and hype in Victor Wembanyama and the fact that the Spurs have had an easy schedule, like, yeah, okay, it's not super shocking. You got the Thunder are 5-0, the Spurs are 4-0, and then in the East, the Bulls and 76ers are both 4-0. I mean, it certainly makes that that NBA Cup matchup with the Bulls all the more intriguing now. And I think the important part is this. We saw last year what happens when you get off to slow starts.
Yes, we did.
Doesn't mean you miss the playoffs, right? I mean, we go back to Doc Rivers' famous post game where he's adamant, we're going to make the playoffs. We're not worried about that. And they did. It was whatever number of teams it was to start 2-8 and make the playoffs. The Bucks are now one of those teams. But I remember talking about this on this very show at the end of the year last year. Like, hey, if you didn't go 2-8 in the first 10 games and you went 5-5 or 6-4, 6-4 is basically the win rate the Bucks played at for the rest of the year. Like, if you did that in the first 10 games, you're the 3 seed. And especially in a conference that we continue to be told by others is down. If you don't think that's the case, saying that the Sixers and Bulls are atop the Eastern Conference isn't really helping your case, but it just means you're going to have more teams bunched up. So as they're struggling, this is your opportunity to do the inverse of what happened last year. And if you want to get to the spot where it's, I mean, obviously Giannis and his play is a big part of it, but like, holy cow, the Bucks are in position for a 3 seed or something like that. Winning games now while other teams are struggling is the way to do that.
It truly is, because even though the Bucks made the playoffs last year, I think you pointed to this throughout the season last year, but like, if the Bucks 2-8 start was a 5-5 start or a 6-4 start, like, their seeding is different come playoff time. Like, I know people always say the NBA don't start until Christmas and all this other stuff, but like all these games count in the standings. And when you get to March and April and you're really in the race getting tight, like, you're going to think back to some of the games like, dang, if they could have got this win along the way, or this one, like, things could be different now. So you want to rack up as many wins as you can along the way. And again, there are always some weird things at beginnings of seasons that you see and you're like, I'm not sure how sustainable this is, but right now this is what it is. It's a long season. Things change. As we mentioned, the Bucks were 2-8 last year, found a way to make the playoffs. But the surprise for me, Chicago's been scrappy. They've been fun. I did not expect them to be undefeated still, but here they are, especially with Kobe White out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy part.
With Kobe White out, Zach Collins, too, who is basically their only big that can rebound and defend at this point. But Kobe White, like, to not have your number one offensive guy, and, at least 2 of those 4 wins have been nice wins for this group against teams that are expect to be playoff teams. Like, that is the stunner to me so far, what the Bulls have done.
And then the stunner for me with Philly is that reason why Philly was in my tier of confusion coming into the season, where I was like, I don't know what to make of Philly, because there were question marks around Embiid's health, question marks around Paul George's health. And in my mind, I'm thinking this is a team constructed around those 2 players. Like, Maxey is more of a complementary player in that sense. We saw what he can do. Like, he has a higher level, but like, it's a trio. It's a big 3 there, right? And so far this season's like, no, like, Maxey is a star unto himself. And VJ Edgecombe has looked outstanding to start the season. The 2 of them in this backcourt have been putting up historic numbers to start the season. And if that's what you can get from a rookie off top, plus Maxey looking the way that he has, like, I feel like the ceiling for the Sixers is a bit higher, because I think for like championship contention and all that stuff, like, yeah, Embiid healthy, you probably still need that force there. But regular season, talking about just racking up wins and finding your way there, like, I think Philly's going to be able to find a way to continue to rack them up as long as they can keep that backcourt healthy, and having Grimes and Bona looks like he's taking a step too in his development. Someone who is a very proud like Giannis stan of like, I've modeled my game after him. I love watching Giannis play basketball. So Adem Bona has been balling out as well. So Philly's been a little surprise to me so far early in the season based off of the strength of that backcourt and some of the wins they've gotten with Embiid on the bench.
Bulls beat the Pistons, the Magic, and the Hawks before beating the Kings last night. So, I mean, even with the struggles that we outlined a couple of minutes ago, Camille, like those are three at the very worst play-in tournament teams in the Eastern Conference. And Bulls beat all of them, which like those are the games, again, when we talk about, hey, win while other teams are struggling, like also win against teams. Like if the Bulls are projected to be a play-in tournament team, beat another team or start to win games against them that may be there with you and you get the tiebreaker. Are important games here. Their next game, by the way, is against the Knicks at home on Halloween tomorrow night. So that is
a cup game too, right?
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting one to watch to see. Number one, we haven't heard anything out of New York, but any updates or status changes on Jalen Brunson. They did not play last night either, or tonight, I should say. So they get 2 nights off. But we'll see if there's any issues there with we never heard anything during the game either. If it was a groin or hamstring that he clearly tweaked. But that should be a fun one to watch on the off night for Bucks fans as well, to see if the Bulls keep things rolling here. And I don't think anybody would complain with handing the Knicks another loss here. You mentioned the Sixers. You know, that was the other team too, in that, again, 4 games in, but I think in the interest of fairness, you and I were talking about this before we started recording, you know, we believed in the team that the Bucks built and said, like, I don't care what the outside chatter is. Like, I think this team is going to be better than people expect. And because of this, because it's more modern, they're more athletic, they can play different ways now. It's not just this older, half-court, slower version of the team. I mean, if we're going to believe that for the Bucks, I think we have to apply the same for the 76ers. And that's really what we've seen through these first 4 games is it's a much different team when it's not Paul George and Joel Embiid on the floor, and it's just the young backcourt that they're leading into. And Tyrese Maxey exploding, Edgecombe and what he did in its debut and in the game since as well. They don't even have Jared McCain on the floor yet. Yeah. So that could be interesting if all of a sudden the Bucks pivot and the Sixers do as well, and we just keep that rivalry going with 2 younger versions of the team here.
I would love that, honestly. Like that's why even when we were talking about the schedule, when the schedule for the Bucks came out, it's like, which games are you looking for? It's like the rivalries don't feel as rivalry.
Well, I mean, rivals week, Camille, with the matchup with the Oklahoma
Bucks
City
and Thunder, of course. Who wouldn't want that matchup for rivalry?
Although, you know what? Now I want to see that. Like last year's version, the previous couple of years, I know the NBA Cup thing happened, but it didn't actually happen. If you look for any, record of that game taking place. But like now, let's see this version of the young athletic Bucks against the Thunder. So, all right, fine. You've soft-sold me.
But we were going to get that game anyways at some point, Justin. So they didn't have to put it during rivalry week. But no, like the East is fun, but as we get ready to wrap here with the Warriors coming into town tonight, one thing I'm really curious about, I feel like Al Horford is playing this game. That's something that Chuck Walter mentioned during the Locked On crossover with Al being a little bit older now, missing back-to-backs. Milwaukee is a stop. I think that he will play. But for the Warriors, they've been, as you mentioned, really good so far this season. I'm curious with them being a little bit of a smaller team, how that might work in the Bucks' advantage, because Al Horford has put up some resistance to Giannis in the past, but I'm not sure how much resistance will be there at this particular stage in Big Al's career with the way Giannis is playing basketball right now. But also the Warriors have had like a turnover problem, and the Bucks haven't been a team where I thought, hey, maybe the Bucks can be a team where they're middle of the pack when it comes to forcing turnovers at the very least. They're not quite there. They're still like 20th or so when it comes to the turnover thing. But the Warriors are kind of advantageous of like, could this be a game where you see the Bucks really get loose in transition because they're able to force a lot of turnovers on this particular Warriors team? So that I'm curious about. And I really want to see the Ryan Rollins Steph Curry matchup after just the way that Rollins been playing defense. Like now you get to try to check the greatest shooter of all time. So like I can't wait to see what that looks like. What are you looking forward to in the matchup?
Steph Curry. Al Horford is not listed on the initial injury report, so I do expect him to play here. The only notable name for the Warriors is Moses Moody, who's questionable. So we'll see. The Bucks have already ruled Kevin Porter Jr. out for this game, and we talked about it yesterday. I don't expect him to return until sometime next week at the earliest. I am looking forward to seeing this version of the Bucks against the Warriors because I mentioned it before we got into this segment, but if there's one thing the last couple of years especially that the Warriors struggle with, it's athleticism and size. Like if you can protect the paint and you have athleticism on the perimeter, that has, I'm not going to say the Achilles heel, but that slowed them down more than anything. The Bucks have always kind of had one of the two, or like we got one in parts of the other. Like when you had Drew Holiday and Eric Bledsoe, and you could craft better defenses, you could at least give yourself a fighting chance against that backcourt. As much as we love Ryan Rollins, I'm not ready to put him at Drew Holiday level yet, but you got something building there, and you have athleticism on the perimeter that I'm going to be curious to see that against the old Warriors, who, in fairness, have looked good. Jimmy Butler and Steph have both looked very good so far this season. But the rim protection.
Kuminga, too. That's been the big one. Yeah.
The rim protection. Because they've always faced Giannis and another big, but now it's Giannis and another big that can do a little bit more in terms of moving his feet.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting battle because they're smaller. They're just a smaller team, and the Bucks can throw some size out too. Like, I do wonder if the Bucks try to dictate at any point in the game of like, we are going to see that Kyle Kuzma, Giannis, Myles Turner type of situation, not for long runs, but just some time on the court, or some of the lineups that you see where there's one true guard on the court, normally like a Cole Anthony, maybe Rollins, and then it's like Coffee out there next to Taurean Prince, next to Bobby and Kuz. So I do wonder if the Bucks kind of play with some size against the Warriors because they can be slower, but I also wonder if they go the other way and they go small to really exploit the athleticism that they have on their team that some of the slower footed Warriors players might not. And if there is no Moses Moody in that game, I really question where their point of attack defense really comes from in this game.
All right, as we wrap here, a couple of quick things to throw at you for this matchup and some interesting numbers. Which of these two teams plays at through this 4-game massive sample size? Which of these two teams plays at the faster pace?
I'm gonna guess Bucks.
Yeah, by a lot.
Yeah.
Bucks are currently 11th in the league in pace, and the Warriors are 20th. You mentioned the Warriors' size. Which of the two has been the better rebounding team so far?
I would actually guess the Warriors on that because Kuminga's been a rebounding fool so far this season.
It's been the Warriors by a lot.
Yeah, he's been rebounding.
They're middle of the pack in their rebounding rate, but the Bucks have been toying with the bottom 5 in the league. Like that's another thing we need to talk about at some point here, but the rebounding has not been good enough for this team, especially on the defensive glass. They've been last in the league. I think the Mavs may have passed them, but the Bucks have been one of the 2 worst offensive rebounding teams in the league. We wondered if that would change this year. It has not. And then on the defensive glass, they've been middle of the pack. So their rebounding overall has been poor to start the season. That could be something to keep an eye on in this game. And then just the 2 other ones here, offensive rating and defensive rating. Which team do you think so far has been better in each? Oh, you're muted.
My bad. I'm going to go. I think they're close in both, actually. I think it's Warriors for offensive rating, a little bit above the Bucks. And I think it's Bucks above the Warriors a little bit for defensive.
Okay, so you said Warriors just above the Bucks in offensive, and
yeah,
Bucks
and then Bucks over Warriors in defensive.
It's the opposite. The Bucks are a point better in offensive rating per 100. The Warriors are about a half a point better on the defense.
I knew it was close. I knew it was close for both of them with these two teams.
So, I mean, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be Steph's only trip, we assume, to Milwaukee this season. Somebody else asked me the other day too, like, I'm trying to cover the game, but I have another conflict. But I might try to move it. Do you think Steph could retire and this is his final trip to Milwaukee? Like, no, I think Steph has still got a couple of more years in him. But yeah, this is another early trip to Milwaukee, the only one in the regular season for the Warriors, and it's going to be like, wow, this is like watching the Bucks the last couple of years when you look at the makeup of this group. And you talk about Steph in year number 16, Al Horford in year number 18, Jimmy Butler in year 14, Draymond in year 13. Like, okay, let's see how these young Bucks can push this Warriors team.
Let's see. And also, I say enjoy Steph Curry being in Milwaukee, folks. Like, if it's not his last year, we know that the appearances are getting fewer and far between, and there's no guarantee that even if he is playing next year, the year after that he's going to be on the Milwaukee trip. And we know how the Western Conference goes. You only get them at home once. So
I mean, look at LeBron, been ducking Giannis for years.
Exactly. So enjoy it. Like, it should be a really, really fun basketball game. I mean, the Bucks have been really fun this year. And now you get Giannis and Steph Curry on the same court. Like, enjoy it, y'all. Enjoy it.
Should be a fun one tomorrow night or tonight as you listen to this, the Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. Just a quick PSA, TBD on what the post game is going to look. Camille's taking vacation here, so she's traveling. I'm not sure if it's going to be me or Frank, or if I have to drag someone else in, a mystery guest to join on the recap there. But it may not be until later in the day, Friday, that you get the post game. And the last note, we mentioned doing a post game after each game this season. The streak may come to an end Saturday. It's still TBD with some things going on. The early tip time actually makes it a little less forgiving for me to pump it out, especially with having to leave for Lambeau the next day. So touch and go on that one. We may not have a Saturday post-game show.
Yeah, unfortunately. We'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll take my laptop with me on vacation, Justin. And the Kings-Bucks game is so thrilling. I'm like, I got it.
From where you're going. I would not waste any time doing that.
Yeah, who knows? Vegas, Bucks, Kings. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's the Zach LaVine revenge game. That'll do it.
It better not be.
That'll do it for today's show. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.